Namaste, welcome, I'm Kathy. I created this class specifically for hip trochanteric bursitis. That is an inflamed bursa in the outer hip region. It's also suitable for gluteus medius tendinosis, as these two injuries tend to present together. This sequence specifically avoids positions and poses that stress the tendon and bursa, and importantly, it focuses on poses that work to strengthen and heal the tendon and bursa. I've included in the description below a link to a free PDF program I created, which is based on this sequence. You can download to further support your hip healing journey. For this class, I recommend either 2 blocks or 1 foam roller and also a yoga strap. Let's begin laying down on our back and come to lay in a reclining butterfly, Supta Baddha Konasana, with the knees out wide and the soles of the feet together. And if that's not comfortable for your hips, you can stretch the legs out in shavasana. And we're just going to start with some conscious breaths. Close down your eyes and start to invite your breath all the way down into the base of your lungs and feel your belly rising up. As you exhale, feel your belly descend and trace your breath as it travels back up and out through your nose. And take a few more conscious belly breaths here. Just following and tracing the path of your breath with your effortless awareness. On your inhale, your belly rises up and expands. And on your exhale, a gentle sigh out the mouth. Just one more like this, breathing in, belly rising up. Slight pause at the top. And a gentle sigh out, HA, to release. And very slowly start to guide your knees in towards the midline and just landing the hands beside you, finding a hip distance support through the feet. And we're going to set up our alignment here, firstly through the lower spine, feeling a natural curve in the lower back. And then firm and lift your pelvic floor and scoop your lower belly in. You might know this as Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha, scooping in. And without losing that natural curve in your lower back, feel your front ribs flattening down. And do your best to maintain these 3 focal points, the pelvis neutral with the curve in the low back, the bandhas engaged, pelvic floor and lower belly, and then the front ribs hugging in. And now float your right leg into tabletop. This is a Pilates style tabletop position. As you then tap your heel down to the floor and float it back up again. And if it helps to feel into your position here, you can keep your eyes closed and your awareness inside. Feeling the position of your lower back. The left and right sides of your pelvis evenly imprinting the mat. Tap and float. And then lower the right leg down, and let's do that on the other side now. Float your left leg into tabletop, tap your left heel down and float. So the knee is fixed at 90 degrees. The spine is fixed in its natural S curve and is being stabilized and supported by your deep core, and you're just moving from your hip joint. Feel the right side of your pelvis anchored down into the floor. And just do this another 3 times. Feeling into the hip movement, that nice stable position through the pelvis, and then lowering the foot down, and then hug your knees into your chest. Give your knees a gentle squeeze, a gentle rock, side to side. And holding on behind the legs, either rock and roll along your spine to come into seated, or just press yourself up into a seated position. And spin your feet to the side as you come into tabletop now, a yoga style tabletop, hands and knees, spread out the fingers, and cat and cow. Let the belly drop down towards the floor, arch the spine as you look forwards. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, start to round your spine, look towards your navel as you curl your tailbone in. As you inhale, let the belly drop, the tailbone lift, the crown of the head lifts. And as you exhale, curling the spine, look towards your navel. One more like this. Inhale, extend the spine. And exhale, flex the spine. And come back to a long spine position. Crown of head lengthens forward, tailbone presses back. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips, come into downward facing dog. Take a few foot pedals, stretch into the backs of your legs. And then finding stillness in your dog, planting the palms. A little bit of bend in the knees here. Feel your sit bones lifting up towards the sky. And then your inner thighs starting to press back and your inner heels pressing down. Feel your feet pulling wide, toning your outer hips. Take a breath in through your nose. Breath out through the nose. Breathing in. And breathing out. And your next inhale, rock forwards into plank, shoulders over wrists, press the heels back, crown of head telescoping forward, belly scooping in. Good, one more breath in. And as you breathe out, option to drop the knees down or stay on the feet as you lower through low plank, chest forward, chaturanga. And then come all the way to the floor, stretch your hands back in line with your hips. And then inhale, rise up, lift your chest, head and feet. Locust pose, shavasana, inner thighs rolling up towards the sky. Exhale, lower down, plant the palms in line with the chest. And as you inhale, rise into cobra, lift the heart. Any amount of lift. And then exhale back into downward facing dog. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the nose with a light constriction to your throat. Again, breathing in and breathing out. And look forwards to your hands and start to walk your feet all the way to the top of your mat. Come into Uttanasana, a forward fold. Press your feet down and wide and feel a light toning in your outer hip muscles. Feel your inner arches lifting, your inner thighs and your pelvic floor lifting. And from that stable foundation, slowly start to roll up, rounding through your lower back, your middle back, and then your upper back. Roll your shoulders down and back, lifting through the heart, and bring the hands together in Anjali Mudra. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 5. And out through the nose with a light constriction to your throat, Ujjayi. And again, breathing in through your nose. Pausing the breath. And out through your nose. Staying with this breath pattern as we move through a modified sun salutation A, Surya Namaskar A. Release your hands down, open your eyes. Micro bend your knees. Inhale, reach your arms up, look up, palms touch. And as you exhale, hinge from your hips, bring your hands through the midline and fold. Bow your head down. Breathe in, halfway lift, extend your spine. Slight chin tuck, and as you exhale, step your right foot back into a runner's lunge, and then your left foot back into downward facing dog. Inhale, rock forwards to plank, shoulders over wrists. And as you exhale, chest moves forward, low plank. Option to drop the knees down. Come all the way to your belly and take your hands back in line with your hips. Inhale, Shalabhasana, chest, head and feet lift. And as you exhale, lower yourself down and just take your forehead to the back of your hands here and bend your right knee 90 degrees. Dorsiflex the right foot and just start to lift your right foot up off the floor a couple of inches and lower it back down. Lift and lower, lift and lower. And your focus is on your right glute max, the back of your right hip, working to strengthen and awaken more muscle fibers there. And it's not a very big movement. If there is strain in the lower back, you can support the pelvis and the tummy on a bolster or a blanket. Otherwise, if it feels okay, just keep focusing your attention on your right glute and feeling the sensation of those muscles contracting. Let's do 5 more on this side. And then lower your right foot down, and now bend your left knee, dorsiflex your left foot, and lift and lower. Focusing your attention now on your left glute, the back of the left hip. And as you focus there, notice if there's any difference between your left and right side, depending on several factors. Which of your hips is the affected hip with bursitis? And also which is your dominant side. And there's nothing to do about what you find, just notice that. Let's do 5 more on this side. Focusing on that left glute. And releasing it down. A gentle wriggle of your hips side to side just to loosen off any accumulated tension in your lower back. And then place your hands in line with your chest. Spread out your fingers, shoulders down, elbows in. And then inhale, rise into a cobra, any amount of lift, shoulders down. As you exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out. One more time, breathing in and breathing out. And let's now lower the knees to the floor and extend your right leg back behind you. Bend your right knee 90 degrees. Lower and lift. Lower and lift. Similar to what you just did laying on your tummy, but now on the hands and knees. Focusing here again on the right glute. Back of the right hip. Last 5. Belly scooping in, chest lifting away from the floor. And 5. And then just take rest in child's pose for a moment to rest the arms in the low back. And as you're ready, come back up into tabletop. Extend your left leg back, bend your left knee 90 degrees, dorsiflex your left foot, and then lower and lift. Keep the breath smooth and steady. And just 5 more on this side. Push the floor away, belly in, front ribs hugging in. Last one. And then lowering it down, resting once again in child's pose. And back up, tabletop, tuck the toes, downward facing dog, planting the palms. Breathe in through your nose, and breathe out through your nose. One more inhale. Full exhale. Get ready to transition forwards now. Inhale through your nose. And as you exhale, look forwards and step your right foot either between or outside your hands. Bring the back foot forwards, top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale, extend. Open up the chest. Fold forward, exhale to release. Pressing the feet down and then inhaling to lengthen halfway, hinging from the hips to rise all the way up. Reach up, palms touch. And then exhale, hands back to the heart. Pause here for a breath. And then release the hands. All right, coming into a modified sun salutation B now. Take hold of your strap and lasso your legs with your strap. And as you lasso the legs, allow there to be some tension in the strap when your feet are hip distance apart. Lightly pressing the outer thighs into the strap until you start to feel some engagement in your outer hip muscles. And then sink your hips low, sweep your arms about parallel to the floor to begin, and start to press your outer thighs into the strap. Imagine there's 1,000 glute med muscle fibers on the right and 1,000 in your left glute med, and you're trying to activate about 500 on either side. So not your maximum, not the strongest contraction that you can imagine, about 50%. Pressing the thighs into the straps. Now spin your pinky fingers towards the middle and then raise your arms up overhead. Breathing in, breathing out. Keep pressing thighs into strap, 2 more breaths. Looking up towards the hands, last breath. Exhale. Good, on your inhale, straighten your legs, reach your arms up, palms touch. And on your exhale, bring your hands back to your heart. And remove your strap. Anchor your feet down. Inhale, rise up, reach up, palms touch. And exhale, fold forward and release. Inhale, halfway lift, belly in, ribs in. And then exhale, left foot back and right foot back, downward facing dog. On your inhale, float forwards to plank, shoulders over wrists. On your exhale, knees or feet, chest forward, chaturanga, low plank. And then all the way down to the belly, take the hands back. Inhale, rise up, chest, head and feet lift, shavasana, inner thighs rolling up. And exhale, lower down. Now roll onto your left side. Roll onto, rather, your non-affected side, so that your affected side, your side with bursitis, is facing up. Place 1 block between your knees and 1 block between your ankles if you're using blocks. Okay, if you're using a foam roller, then place the foam roller between your knees and ankles in the same way. And this is just to keep a little more space in the hips, to reduce the stretch in the top hip. And we're going to do a clam movement. So the right knee is lifting up off the roller or off the block and lowering back down just a few inches. And you're focusing on the muscles at the outer right hip. Create a slight lift through the underneath waistline so you're not collapsing your side body down. Feeling those muscles. And so there's two things that we really want to avoid when working with a hip bursitis and glute tendinosis, and they are passive stretch and compression. So we want to avoid compressing the affected hip by laying directly on it. So we only want to do this exercise with the affected side up. And passive stretch, if we didn't have the roller here or the block here, then the top hip would fall into an adducted position and stretch out that top hip. So we want to try to avoid that when we're working to heal a hip bursitis. And let's do 5 more on this affected side. Really feeling those muscles, and it can help to place your sort of 3-finger pads into that muscle behind the hip and see if you can feel under your fingers the contraction of the muscle bulging up into your fingers. That can help to elicit a stronger contraction. And just take care not to press on the tendon anywhere that it feels quite sore. Avoid that. And then releasing down, remove your blocks or your roller. And now place one of your blocks or your roller on the medium setting between the legs, and now have the legs straight. Again, you're still working with the affected hip on top. We're not laying on the affected side. Slight lift through the underneath waistline. The top hand can support you on the floor in front. Dorsiflex your foot and then lift your top leg up just enough that you're feeling those outer hip muscles on the top engaging, but you're not clearing the block. You're not going so high that you're clearing the block. And holding it there in that slightly elevated position for a couple of breaths. And then releasing it back down onto the block. And notice how the block is keeping that top hip more neutral and stopping it from going into a stretch position. Again, lifting it up, holding it there. 2 breaths. And then lowering it down. Same again, 2 breaths. And lowering it down. And notice how the heel is in line with the hip and it's not in front of the hip. So when this happens, it changes the exercise and it changes the muscle that you're using. So you want to make sure the heel is right back in line with the hip and not in front of the hip. Lifting it up. You're not clearing the block. Holding it there, 2 breaths. And then lowering it down. Lifting up. Keeping the slight curve, the slight lift through the underneath waistline. And down. Let's do 3 more. So lifting it up, holding it there, 2 breaths. And releasing it down. Last one. And then release, give your hip a loving tap. And then remove your block or roller and come to lay once again on your tummy. Plant your palms in line with your chest, spread out your fingers. On your inhale, rise up into cobra. On your exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Plant your palms, breathe in. And breathe out. One more inhale. Gentle exhale. And look forwards to your hands and step your left foot between your hands. Step your right foot forward, top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale, open up. Exhale and fold forward to release. Really anchoring the feet down and then inhaling, lengthening, rising up, reaching up, palms touch. And exhale, hands back to the heart. And once again, let's take hold of the strap and step inside. Strap a few inches above the knees, not too close to the knees. And as you stand with your feet hip distance apart, create a little bit of tension in your strap and then sink down into chair pose once again. Reach the arms up. Press the outer thighs into the strap. Let's go 50%, maybe 70% on either side, not your maximum. Belly in. Good. Option to stay here with both feet planted into the floor, or you can challenge it a little here by transferring your weight into your right foot, picking your left heel up, perhaps the whole foot up, and continue pressing your thighs into your strap. 2 breaths. 1. And then release your left foot down, sink the hips low, still in chair pose, thighs press into strap, breathe in. And then breathe out, transfer your weight to your left foot, pick your right heel up, perhaps the whole foot comes up. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. And breathing out. Place the right foot down, sink down through the hips, thighs press into strap. Inhale. Exhale, sink a little lower. Inhale, straighten the legs, palms touch, look up. And exhale, hands back to the heart. And release. Remove your strap. And take your hands to your hips, soften your knees. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, hinge forward from your hips. And then come all the way down, take hold of your big toes. Padangusthasana, inhale, lengthen, look forward. And then exhale to release, feeling the lower back lightly stretch. Your shoulders move away from your ears. Chin towards chest. Breathing into the back body and feeling just the sides of your waist expanding. Last 2 breaths here. And release the big toes, look forwards, inhale. And then exhale, step your right foot back and then your left foot back into downward facing dog. Last vinyasa here, inhale to plank. Belly scoops in, exhale, low plank, chest forward. All the way down to the floor, take the hands back. And then inhale, rise, shavasana, chest, head and feet lift, holding it here. Feel your inner thighs rolling up. Broadening across the collarbones. Slight chin tuck. Last 2 breaths. 1. And then releasing down, right cheek to the mat as you rest. And then rolling onto your back. And landing your feet hip distance apart. Take hold of your strap. And once again, lasso your feet. Bring the strap above the knees, not too close to the knees. You may need to loosen it a little. Feet flat. Reach your fingers towards your heels. Press your outer thighs into your strap and then rise up into bridge pose. Steady the breath, feeling 1,000 muscle fibers in your left outer hip, 1,000 in your right. Steadying the breath. And then slowly start to lower yourself down and just let your knees knock together, your feet a little wider, and perhaps a couple of little windscreen wipers there. And then back to the middle. Once again, second round of bridge. Plant the feet down, press the outer thighs into the strap, and then rise up. Steady the breath. And as you press into the strap, start with about a 50% engagement, 500 muscle fibers. If that feels like enough, stay there. Or you could start to increase the intensity by pressing a little firmer, maybe 70%, but not your max. Last breath. And then lower yourself down slowly, feet a little wider, knees knocking in together. Just take one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart. Pause and feel. And once again, last round, press the feet down, tension your strap, rise up into bridge pose. And steady the breath option here. This time to interlace your hands behind you and press your fist into the floor. Lifting your pubic bone. If there's any strain in the knees, then just reduce the tension in the strap. Last two. 1. Releasing your hands down first, and then slowly start to lower yourself down. Hug your knees into your chest. Remove your strap. Gentle rock. And then release your left foot down, cross your right foot over your left knee and pull your left knee in towards your chest into a figure 4 stretch. And even though this is a hip opening pose, it's stretching into the hip, it does not stretch the glute med or glute med tendon. So it's a safe pose, a safe hip opening pose for this type of bursitis. Lengthening the tailbone towards the floor to increase the stretch. Feel your left hip pressing away from your left shoulder, so you're lengthening your left waistline slightly. Breathing into your belly. And then release and change sides. Left foot on top of right. Pull the right knee in. Dorsiflex the left foot. And feeling the right hip this time pressing away from the right shoulder to level out your pelvis. Tailbone draws down slightly. And that, again, that hip, the left hip is in an abducted position, not an adducted position. So it is not stretching out the tendon and compressing the bursa. So it's a good one to do. Breathe into the belly and soften. And then gently release the right foot down and stretch the legs out now, making your way into shavasana. Let the legs flop open, the arms release. Close down your eyes. And I'll leave you here for as long as you have available to rest. Thank you for joining me in this class. I'd love to know how this sequence felt in your body. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment below. Namaste, yogis.